Welcome back to the Warrior Monk Project. Today's episode is going to be about meditation. In the last meditation-based episode, we spoke about how meditation has positively impacted my life. But this episode is going to be a bit more practical, and we're going to speak about my 3 favorite forms of meditation: breathwork, visualization, and mantra meditation, and how we should specifically use them for different purposes. Just like we use a hammer and a spanner for completely different reasons, we use different forms of meditation to resolve certain things within our life. Our mind is often described as a mirror that's accumulated dust over time, where the dust metaphorically represents the fears, desires, and societal conditioning that have come upon us over time. When we first look into a dusty mirror, we can't see our reflection, and our true self is obscured. But over time, when we begin to clear down this mess and go through that uncomfortable process of cleaning it, we can start seeing our true reflection, and we can start beginning to see our true self. This is similar to the process of meditation, because it's a means for cleaning the impurities that are covering the mirror of our mind. Just as a disclaimer, by no means am I claiming to be a meditation expert. I'm simply someone who's picked up meditation around 3 years ago and decided to share their experiences and observations in a hope that I can help be of service to those who are beginning their journey or hoping to begin their meditation practice. Secondly, I want to talk about the unpleasant reality of meditation. The Buddha once said that just as a fish that's been hooked and left on sand thrashes about, the mind, when being trained to meditate, trembles all over. When we are meditating and we're having this time and space alone, a spotlight is placed on our not so great qualities, whether that be our lust, greed, or jealousy. But this isn't something that we should fear. Having awareness gives us power, because it allows us to evaluate, reflect, and make changes where necessary. So I think that's enough of the philosophy and disclaimers. Let's get straight into the topic of the practical methods for meditating. And the first one is breathwork, which is probably the most common form of meditation you'll see in the mainstream. Breathwork is incredibly complex, but I'll be speaking about it at a very simplified level. When we are born till the day we die, one thing remains consistent, and that's our breath. Our breath has the amazing ability to manipulate our emotions and also our bodily functions, and we can really take advantage of this. What happens when we are in states of anxiety and stress? We start to breathe very unconsciously, and we start to maybe hold our breath or even shallow breathe. And then when we breathe unconsciously in these states, we actually begin to worsen our feelings of stress and anxiety. So therefore, by meditating and bringing our breath back to a stable state in order to reduce the intensity of negative emotions and bring us back to more of a balanced, equipoised level. Breathwork doesn't always have to only be used for when we are feeling anxious or stressed. It can actually allow us to raise our energy too. For example, if we begin to breathe by sharply exhaling through our nose, it's believed that it raises the energy within our body. I remember during my retreat in Belgium, Satchidananda Swami noticed that a lot of us within the room were feeling quite tired because we woke up very, very early in the morning, maybe around 4 o'clock. So what he made us do was go through an exercise of sharply exhaling through our nose in order to raise our energy before he began his class. And I think it could be beneficial, for example, if you're feeling very tired in the morning and you may need this kickstart of energy and you don't really want to be taking many shots of coffee. The second form of meditation I use is visualization. And I've noticed that visualization tends to be more potent once we have gone through the process of breathwork, for example, and we've done a session of breathwork, your visualizations tend to be a lot stronger. But why do we use visualizations? Well, there's 2 key aspects to visualizations. It allows us to process both events in the past, but also allows us to anticipate events in the future. So let's break down the events in the past aspect of it. Well, firstly, it allows us to visualize and go back to points in time where we may have faced trauma, which may be the cause for things like insecurities or anxieties. It allows us to go back to that time and ask ourselves questions and do thought experiments, such as, have I forgiven this person? Have I forgiven myself? If I was back in that position and I had the expertise I had now, how would I have dealt with that situation? And finally, what have I learned from this experience? Just as a disclaimer, it's important you're very self-aware with this, and this is not for everyone. If you do feel like you want to do this, please do understand that you need to have a level of awareness for the depth of this trauma. And also, if you're going into this, please be in the best mental state possible before you do so, because this can be a very emotionally turbulent experience. Just like I did, I hired a coach, Rico, who walked through this experience with me because I felt like it would be beneficial for myself to have someone I trusted with me whilst going through this visualization. And it may be beneficial for you to do this as well, especially if this is the first time you're doing something like this. Or for example, the depth of this trauma is so significant that you do need that emotional support with you. So please be careful with this form of visualization. It's useful for overcoming certain anxieties, but it is also a very emotionally turbulent activity to conduct as well. On a more positive note, visualization allows you to bring positive energy from the past into the present. For example, David Goggins once coined the term the cookie jar, and what he meant by that was having a mental bank of all of the challenges you've overcome in the past, in order for you to be able to visualize them and bring that positive energy into the now, so that when you may be facing turbulence or challenges, you have this level of confidence and conviction to know that no matter what happens, you'll be able to get through it, because you've affirmed that you've been able to get through difficult situations in the past before. The next form of visualization I want to talk about is Stoic negative visualizations. Now you may be asking, what's the point in using negative visualizations? And it's a very good question. Within the mainstream, it's constantly pushed that we should be visualizing positive outcomes. But in life, negative events will happen. And we need to have the mental fortitude to understand that we can deal with these situations and to remain calm no matter what happens. And this is where negative Stoic visualizations fit in. For example, during my dissertation, it was a period of a lot of turbulence and anxiety. A lot of challenges were coming my way, and I needed a way to be able to understand that I can deal with them regardless of whatever would have happened. So what I would do was, on a nightly basis, I would visualize challenges coming my way in the next day, and also visualize myself breaking down this challenge, problem solving, and overcoming it, so that I had a positive twist on this negative Stoic visualization, because it allowed me to have the ability to reaffirm to myself that no matter what negative outcome may come my way, I will be able to overcome it and I will be able to deal with it. And this has become such a powerful tool for me, which I definitely recommend you implement in your own lives too, especially during turbulent periods. So let's now break down the third and final form of meditation that I use, and that's mantra meditation. But what is a mantra? A mantra is a certain word or sound that has a certain level of potency to it. Man means mind, and tra means transport or vehicle. So ultimately, a mantra is an instrument of the mind. It's a sound or word that allows us to enter a deep meditative state. And it's so powerful because, say for example, you're new to meditation, we often have rushing thoughts, and having a mantra allows us to have a focal point to focus on, which prevents us having rushing thoughts during our meditation. It's often used in many religions and many cultures. For example, in Christianity, some people pray the rosary, or in Hinduism, some people do a form of japa meditation, and it's often used as a form for connecting with a higher power, connecting with God, and so on. Mantra meditation simply involves repeating a specific mantra over and over again. In my practice that I do consistently, I use a set of mala beads like the ones I'm showing on the camera in order to keep track of the number of mantras I've repeated. In terms of this mala bead, it contains 108 beads specifically, because the number 108 is so potent within the Hindu and Vedic philosophy. So that's what I choose to use. However, you don't need to use that if you choose not to. But you may be asking yourself, why is mantra meditation so powerful? Well, that's because it uses sound vibrations. Think about the last time you heard your favorite song, whether that be an upbeat one or a sad one. It must have invoked some form of emotion and really touched your heart. And mantras have the ability to do so too. And because they're so potent and powerful, they have the ability to not only touch your heart, but cleanse yourself and nourish you too. For example, a common mantra that's used is the mantra Om. And that's because it's believed to be the sound of the universe. And I remember an experience when I was in Bhaktivedanta Manor for the first time as part of a day retreat, and they made us say Om around 5 times in a group of 100 people within a single room, and you just felt the room vibrate and something felt special. Another mantra you could use is the Maha Mantra, and that's specifically used to connect with the divine and also invite positive energy within your life too. Now, these are just 2 examples of mantras that I've used in the past. However, you can go off and find your own mantras that you feel comfortable with and that resonate with you too, because that's ultimately what's important. Just a bit of a disclaimer, by no means am I claiming to be a mantra meditation expert. I myself, I'm very new to this practice as well. I just started recently following going to my retreat in Belgium, where I committed to a 30-day vow of continuously doing mantra meditation on a daily basis in order to experiment and see the effects it has on my life. So I'm interested to see the effects myself, but in the name of this podcast, I decided to go speak with the experts and refer to books like this one over here called The Living Name for some applicable suggestions that may help you with your mantra meditation practice. And the first one is we need to be intentional with our mantra meditation. Like anything in life, it's important to be specific with the pronunciation of the words, as well as being able to understand what the mantras truly mean. Otherwise, we're just doing it in a mindless, meaningless matter. And what we want to be doing with anything in life is to be doing it with pure intention. And that's when the most potency comes out of it. Secondly, I got told that it may actually be valuable to do some breath work before mantra meditation, because that allows you to clear your mind and set a purposeful intention during your mantra meditation. An intention that I often set during my mantra meditation is that I ask a higher power to please let me be an instrument of your service. I think that's one that's hit home for me, but you may choose to pick a different one for yourself. And finally, some people have suggested that it's important to visualize something whilst you're doing your mantra meditation, whether that be visualizing the words leaving your mouth and the sound going through your ears and then connecting with your heart. And some people have found that their experiences have been stronger using mantra meditation because they've done so. But those were some of the suggestions I had, and I hope that they may have helped in some way. I hope you enjoyed this podcast on meditation and took away some actionable steps to do with breathwork, visualization, and mantra meditation. Again, this is a very packed episode, so if you do have any questions, then please do feel free to reach out to me. And if I don't know the answer, don't worry, I do have some great mentors and experts I know that I can get into contact with, just because I think it's very important to be very precise and specific with our practices and intentional with it as well. If you did enjoy this episode, then please do like and share this episode on social media. I'd be very grateful for it. I'd like to create a community out of this podcast and be of service to as many people as possible. So I'd be very much appreciative. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and I'll catch you guys next time on the Warrior Monk Project.